Oh hi, and welcome to Sabnessful, where I give my opinions that no one really cares about, but will give anyways. And today I'll be taking a stab at Traitors UK Season 3. I am a huge competition reality fan. I love Survivor, I love the Traitors, so today I thought it'd be fun to take a look at the recent UK Traitors season and kind of rate all the players, give my opinions on each of them, and then give my opinions on the overall season. Enough said, without further ado, let's get into Traitors UK Season 3, spoilers abound. So I'll just quickly go over my tier list. I know I do the colors differently. Most people do red on top. I do green on top because, again, I feel like green should be like the good tier and red should be the bad tier. That just makes more sense in my head, so I switch it. But here at the bottom, to start with, my category is they were there. That sounds mean, but it's not. It just means that they didn't have enough screen time, so I didn't really get an opinion on them one way or another, so they were just there. Disliked, I didn't really like them. And to be fair, I don't dislike any of these people. I'm more kind of rating them as a character in the show or a player in the show. But typically, people who are my dislikes are people who are very wrong and stupid. I hate stupid people. That sounds mean because this is a game where no one has any information, but you know, if you play very poorly or just boring, you're gonna go in the dislike category. They were okay, or for people who were kind of just boring or they were annoying but not enough to be my dislike category. They were good and they were great are for contestants I really enjoyed watching. And what I enjoy watching in contestants are either they are super smart and they're very good at the game, or they're just very entertaining to me and give me drama and I laugh, which is important. And sometimes it's a combination of the two where it's one outweighs more than the other. I'll explain each of them as I go on. And loved is literally for one contestant only, but I'll get there. The first episode starts pretty interesting, in which all the contestants are in trains and they're each in a different cart. And then Claudia says, hey, everyone in those carts, you have to vote someone out, and a total of 3 people have to be voted out. And I like that as a twist of like, boom, you just met these people, be cutthroat. Unfortunately, it fell flat for me because the 3 people that left just volunteered, so that kind of just made it easy for everybody. But I did like that twist, and I guess that those 3 would be coming back, and I'll get more into those 3 later on. But I did like the twist in concept, but I don't think it worked in execution. Also introduced at the start of the game, Claudia tells everybody that at a certain point, whoever is banished will not reveal their roles. And I have mixed opinions on this. I've seen this in other versions of the Traitors, and I absolutely hate it because the best part about the show is the round table and then the person going up and revealing the roles and everyone reacting to whether they were faithful and they were wrong, or that they were a traitor and they were right and they cheer. That is the best part. And so when you take that away in the end game, it just makes it very boring to me, especially when the versions I saw that the contestants didn't know that was coming. They didn't know that at the final 4 or final 5, those who are banished or voted out would not reveal their roles. They had no way to plan for that. So I like here that Claudia tells them up front from the beginning they can plan for it. I think that's great. But my concern is, like it was with the other versions I saw, it made the finale so lackluster because it's like, oh, okay, all these people are banished and they're like, we don't get that reaction of them finding out what their role was. I do think this version of them not revealing the roles has been the best so far, but I'll get into that at the end of my rankings. I will start with Yin. I'm going to go based off of the order they were eliminated. And Yin, I thought they were okay. I mean, she was the first one out, so I kind of want to put her in they were there, but she said like a line something about like, oh, I don't have enough social capital, which she seemed like a very savvy player. And I was like, oh, I'm excited to see where she goes. And then she just got sniped. Because of that one line, I will put them in they were okay, but I don't think I should put them any higher because she didn't last that long in the season. Next is Nathan, he was there, and so was Keith. They were both there. I did not get enough content of them to really get an opinion on either one of them. Ellen, oh, my sweet, sweet Ellen. She was great. I, for some reason, really liked Ellen. I like that she was kind of meta thinking in that, oh, because of last season, UK season 2, there were a bunch of male traitors, so there has to be strong female traitors, and a lot of them this season. And she was right on the money, but no one would listen to her. And at her banishment, when she was crying and pleading to people that she's a faithful, I just felt so bad for her. And I really wanted to see her play more, so I'm really bummed that she didn't get to play more. But in her little time, I really enjoyed her, so she goes in the great tier. Armani was also great. Armani was the first traitor banished, and she was very entertaining as a traitor. I like that her strategy was, I'm going to be loud because people wouldn't think a traitor would be loud. I've been waiting for someone to do that strategy because I'm a huge fan of all the Traitor seasons. I've watched literally all of them. This is just the most recent one I've watched. Unfortunately for her, it made her the first traitor banished, but I like that she did something different and she gave us a lot of entertainment. And she also was there with her sister, Maya, who I'm gonna put Maya in the okay tier. It was fun that this time where there's an unknown pair, everybody now knows it's not a secret pair, but it didn't really go anywhere. It kind of just fell flat to me. And Maya, she was okay. She wasn't like amazing at the game, but she wasn't bad. She wasn't exactly the most entertaining person to watch, so she was in the okay tier. Now we got Jack, one of the 3 train people. So I thought the train twist was good in concept, bad in execution, but I like that they brought them back in the cages and only 2 of them would come back. It's like, hey, you volunteered to come off, and because of that, one of you is not going to get a chance to play. I like that they all 3 didn't just automatically come back. And I did appreciate Jack. I thought he was pretty entertaining in the little that he gave us, but again, because he was barely in the show, I don't think I can put him any higher than okay. Where should I put him in front of? I feel like for some reason I like Yin and Jack more than Maya, even though she was on a lot longer than them. But if you give us nothing, you give us nothing. Kasim, poor sweet Kasim. He was good. He just had it rough because everyone thought he was a traitor. And though Kasim was very sweet, he still just didn't really do it for me. He wasn't the most savvy game player, and he wasn't that big of a character. He was only big in the sense that everybody suspected him, and so that just made us feel bad for him. But the reason why he's in the good tier is because of his exit line when he told Joe, who knew you would have just found someone with just a glimmer in their eye. I thought that was so petty. I really love it when contestants as they leave are petty and just let them have it. I find it boring when they're like, oh, it's just a game, I had fun, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm this. That's boring to me. Give us some drama. And he gave us drama on his way out, so I appreciate that. Tyler was also okay. I don't really have big opinions on Tyler. He liked birds a lot, which, speaking of birds, I love the peacocks. The peacocks were so funny to me because they would use the peacock noises that they make, and that just always made me laugh, so I appreciated that. But Tyler, he was okay. Not the most savvy player. He, I guess, had like a bros thing going on, which I didn't necessarily like, but you know, you have to make alliances somehow. And he just was okay for me. Livy, I feel bad doing this, but she goes in the dislike tier. She's kind of what I find annoying in contestants where very loud and very wrong and using the most whack logic possible. And that was very annoying to me. And she was murdered, which surprised me. I was surprised the Traitors decided to murder her. I felt like they should have kept her in the game a lot longer because she was wrong, she was loud, she wasn't coming for any of the traitors, she was going for Freddy, and I think they blamed her to try and put it on Freddy, even though that didn't work. I really felt like they should have kept Livy in the game because she was just so off the mark always. Next we have a Dan. I actually really like Dan. He goes in the great tier. I liked him because he was just so like logical about everything. It's like, yeah, it's just a game. They did the raft challenge and Jake came in. He was so upset for people for not getting out of the boat and sacrificing their chance at a shield. He's like, well, that's your game and I'm playing my game. Like, this is the selfish game. He had a lot of self-awareness, and I love contestants with self-awareness, and I really appreciate that in him. He has similar mentality I would have in just thinking very logically, analytically, and I appreciate that from him. He did kind of mess up with the whole marking Mina and not telling her. That was a poor choice, unfortunately, but I still liked him. I did not been going over what happened to these people, if they were murdered or banished. Is that bad? Whatever. I feel like if you're watching this, then you know what happens. You wouldn't be watching this if you didn't watch the season. Anyways, Fazia, also great. I loved Fazia. She came in later in the season because of their train cage thing, but what she did give us was a lot. She was pretty savvy, honestly. She clocked Linda, and I was really excited to see what she would go on to do, and it kind of sucks that she lost because of the death game, which I love the death game in the episode that Fazia went home. I thought that was so fun. My favorite part of the death game is that they went and murdered Fazia in person. I think that's great. I think they should do that more. I think they should do more of that throughout all the traitor seasons of murdering them face to face and be like, hey, I'm the traitor and you're dead now. I thought, mwah. And also, oh, the stare Mina gave Fazia when she murdered her was so good. And then when Fazia turned to Linda's like, I knew you were a traitor, you're gone next. And Linda just goes, get over it. I loved it. I thought that was so petty from Linda, and I thought that was so funny. Speaking of Linda, she is next. I will also put her in. I have no one in good, but I liked Linda. She gave us a lot of entertainment. I loved how fun she was having with the role, and she was kind of messy, and it was kind of fun watching the mess. Not a good game player at all, but the entertainment value soared her to the great tier for me. Very petty, very all over the place, and I love that for her. Next is Anna, and Anna's an interesting one. I think I'll put Anna in the good tier, but top of good tier. She had an interesting journey in that she declined a recruitment, which I am always of the belief if you get recruited, you absolutely should take it. It's so stupid not to. That said, I did like her thinking in that she correctly read that she was being recruited to be used as a pawn and to basically use as a scapegoat for the traitors, to use as a burned traitor. That's the word I'm trying to think of. And I love that she said, no, I'm not going to be recruited and then just be burned right away. I don't want that. I don't want to be a faithful. And then the one night I am a traitor, I go out as a traitor and everyone thinks they're correct about me. I love that that was the reason why she made her decision. Still probably should have just taken it just in case. She was also in the death game, which she could not catch a break. And then he just finally put her out of her misery and murdered her. I don't think she was the most savvy game players, but she wasn't annoying. And I liked a lot of her rationale. So I put her in the good tier. Next is Alex. And Alex, I think, yeah, I don't dislike him, but he was kind of boring to me. He did have some good reasonings. I think it was he who also was on to Linda for a while with Jake. He wasn't there a lot and he didn't give us a lot before he was just kind of banished out of nowhere. Like the most content he got was the episode he was eliminated. So it's like, okay, you're there. But he was there long enough to not be in the they were there category, but he was just okay to me. Next is Lisa. I actually really like Lisa, but I had to put in just the good tier. I'm kind of biased against her because she looks like one of my professors in college and I really like that professor. I also really liked her line where after she told everyone she was a priest, I think it was Joe that was like, well, if you can't lie, then why would you play this game? And she goes, well, what honest to God good murder mystery doesn't have a priest in it? I thought that was a very funny and a great way to counter his argument against her. She wasn't the most savvy of players. I think she was okay, but I liked her enough to put in the good tier, but definitely not great. She wasn't that big of a character that created a lot of entertainment. Leon's also okay. He was kind of boring, not the best in terms of reads either. And he kind of shut down when people were targeting him. And I understand why people would shut down when they're being targeted, but it's just kind of boring. Like, I want to see you fight. Like, give me your all. Fight. I want to see that. And he kind of lost it towards the end. Next is Joe. And Joe, I actually disliked. There was an arrogance about him that I don't even think is his fault. I didn't think it was intentional, but there's just something about him that just irked me. He was very loud and wrong too, like with poor Kasim. He was correct about Linda though, so I have to give him that credit. But everyone else, he was consistently wrong. And with him and Livy, they just didn't give up. They kept trying to find a traitor. But I also think there is some merit to thinking, oh, I am consistently wrong. Maybe I should take a step back and let someone else take charge. I like that self-awareness in people. And I don't want people to just give up if they're wrong, but also maybe intentionally take a step back so that other people can voice their opinions and maybe can actually get a traitor. Next is Mina. And I will put Mina in great. I have to put her top of great tier. I enjoyed Mina. She was very good at the game, very savvy. She was pretty cutthroat when it needed to be. Her one downfall was bringing Charlotte and trusting her too much. But outside of that, she really was good. And she just kind of got caught because she had no suspicion on her, which was unfortunate for her. I think very good at the game, maybe not the biggest character, but she was very good at the game, so I appreciate her because of that. Freddie is next, and Freddie, I just edges out of the okay tier. He was kind of boring, he didn't have the best reads, but what I really liked about Freddie was his final episode when Charlotte absolutely threw him under the bus and he's like, oh, okay, two could play at this game. And so we're thinking, oh, okay, they're just going to go at each other and he's going to throw him in the bus. So only for him to completely whiff it with that Mina line of like, oh, Mina told me about the shield that Leanne had. That was so bad. That was so funny to me. It created a very, very interesting finale. I would probably have to say the last 3 episodes were my favorite. We had 3 traitors go out in a row, which of all the seasons I've watched, I've never seen that many traitors go out in a row before. And he wasn't a traitor till the one day he was banished. So everyone thought they were correct about him when they were wrong. And that is, like, it's kind of frustrating when faithfuls correctly read that a person is a traitor, but for all the wrong reasons, or if they correctly caught a recruited traitor, but they believed they were traitor the whole time and they were using evidence from when they were faithful against them to banish them. That is so frustrating. My God, what Charlotte did to him was so good. And that's why Charlotte is my love tier. I loved Charlotte. She was kind of okay in the beginning, but when she became a traitor, she really just embraced it. And I love it when people are in the turret really embrace being traitor. And we do get the lines about like, oh, this is fun, this is good, like I'm having fun with this, like no one suspects me. We get that a lot throughout the traitor seasons, and that doesn't annoy me. But something about the way she embraced it was so fun. That smile, Oh my God, the smile she gave when Mina said, hey, I want to go to the end with you. I want to split it with you. And she just smiled and didn't say it back. I'm like, oh, she is totally not intending going to the end with Mina and splitting with her. And then when Freddie came into the turret and Charlotte smiled at him and said, we should go for Leanne, knowing full well she was about to catch him in a trap, was so good. I really love Charlotte, and I really feel bad for her. I do think she got completely screwed by the Sia twist. The Sia twist is new. I haven't seen it on any of the other seasons, to where Frankie got the ability to have a one-on-one meeting with somebody and that person had to tell them the role. They could not lie about it. And she just got so screwed by that, and I really feel bad for her because she was playing such an interesting game. She turned on Mina, she threw Freddie on the bus. She literally just woke up and chose violence and decided to trap Freddie, and that plan actually would have worked. I feel like it would have worked if it weren't for the seer of it all. And that's very frustrating because I kind of felt like it was very unfair. That said, I think the way they handled the seer twist was smart. I like that they didn't have the seer meet with the person until after the final banishment where they revealed their roles, so there will always be this like, ooh, were they telling the truth type thing. And I liked it that Claudia didn't reveal who the seer was till after that final banishment where they revealed the roles, so that no one could try to influence them, like, oh, you should bring this person and confirm their identity. I did like that. It really did screw over Charlotte. There was pretty much nothing she could do. That said, it did create a lot of drama. There was a lot of like, what is going on? What is going to happen? Where is this going to go? But also I was like rooting for Charlotte so hard. I just felt so bad for her. And I also felt bad for Frankie, and I'll get more into Frankie in a minute. And like in some ways that the seer kind of balanced out the blackmail at final 6, it was crazy to me at the final 6, Charlotte could bring in a traitor, which she brought in Freddie, and then murder again. Like that is, I feel like, too late in the game to do that. At least since we're in the 3rd season, the contestants are aware that blackmails are possible, but that I think is so unfair to murder and recruit that late in the game. So I guess the seer kind of balances that, but my suspicion is the seer was always going to be introduced. So say Mina survived that round table, she and Charlotte were both the traitors at the final 6, they were still going to bring in the seer advantage. And I kind of always thought that at some point the traitors would introduce more roles, kind of like One Night Werewolf or Mafia or Town of Salem, where there's a bunch of different roles. I kind of suspect at some point they would, and I am glad that's starting to introduce them, but I don't know. I wonder if the Sia twist should have been earlier on the season. And Charlotte is the first of those banished to not reveal their roles, which, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge fan of them not revealing the roles in the end game. Besides it being boring, it also is such a huge advantage to the traitors. They already have such a huge advantage in knowing who the traitors are. They can't get murdered. They have so much information, and the faithfuls get no information whatsoever. So the fact that this new twist gives them even less information, which is literally 0, is crazy to me. And I really feel bad for the faithfuls. It's such a huge disadvantage. And I think it also just means that no matter what happens, they're always going to a final 2, no matter what, because you don't know who's a traitor, who's not. Why risk it? Just go to a final 2 every time. That said, because of the Sia twist, which I am kind of also iffy on, because that was introduced, it created a lot more drama that we lost due to the people not revealing their roles once they get banished. So I did like that. I think that helped with it not feeling lackluster. And also just because of what happened in that Frankie was like, Charlotte's a traitor, that created a lot of drama. I also do like this idea of, say Charlotte was indeed a faithful. She goes in, Frankie's like, oh, okay, she knows Charlotte's a faithful, and they both basically say they're each other faithfuls. I like the idea that there still creates some uneasiness in that worth of just both traitors pretending to both be faithfuls to pull the wool over our eyes. I didn't think about that watching it until, and then after the season's like, oh, that is totally something that could happen. So I do like that part, because my concern was, well, say Charlotte was a faithful and Frankie's like, oh, you're a faithful, great, then we're going to go to the end. I know you're faithful, I can trust you, we'll just vote everybody else. Done. But there's room for that not to happen because people don't reveal the roles. Other people might think there's something iffy going on, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I think I've talked enough about the Sia twist. Next is Alexander. Alexander was the other trained person who came in, and he also survived the death game. He had a lot of bad luck too, kind of like Anna. And I actually really liked Alexander. There's something about him I really liked. Kind of like Dan, he was very calculative, very analytical, but I don't think he was as savvy as Dan, so he goes in the good tier. He did kind of mess up at that final round table where Charlotte got banished, like really put his foot in his mouth and just didn't shut up. And I appreciate his style of gameplay and how analytical he was. Next is Frankie, and I'm surprising myself. I am putting Frankie in the great tier, and I will put her actually above Armani. Armani's gonna be at the, yeah, no. I guess I will put Armani last, even though I actually really like her. Anyways, the thing with Frankie is that, as I mentioned, I don't like faithfuls who are stupid or who are wrong. And she was wrong a lot. She did not get the obvious traitors in Linda and Armani, but somehow she did get the harder traitors to catch, which was Charlotte and Mina, which is kind of crazy. And I also appreciate that she was self-aware. She's like, yeah, I am kind of irrelevant. I have been wrong a lot. I recognize that. And I appreciate that from her. With her being the seer, at first I was frustrated because she chose Charlotte because she believed Charlotte was a faithful. And I'm like, that must be, get away. She chose Charlotte because she believed she was a faithful. And that must have been so frustrating to Charlotte to be like, I played such a good game that the person who was the seer brought me in to just confirm I was faithful. And that kind of also what bugs me about the seer is that it's a little too overpowered in that someone like Charlotte, who's like, she had no way to plan for it. She didn't know it was coming. She played a perfect game, essentially. She got Freddie banished, put the blame on him, got him banished. Everyone believed she was faithful. No one was looking after Charlotte. And then she gets brought in by the seer because Frankie believes she's a faithful. That must have been so frustrating. And it was frustrating for Frankie choosing that decision. But then I thought about it, I thought that's actually really smart. I think it's actually better as a CH to confirm a faithful than a traitor, because then what you can do, kind of like I mentioned earlier, is that you can now go to the end with them knowing with 100% confidence that they are a faithful, they are not a traitor. You will not lose if you stand in the final two with them. So I actually think that was smart of Frankie to want to confirm someone's a faithful. It just unfortunately confirmed she was a traitor. And then I feel bad for Frankie because she single-handedly caught Charlotte. She single-handedly caught her. No one else would have caught her. And then she doesn't win. She's literally the last person banished, last person to lose. I'm like, oh, it's so frustrating that she basically gave the other twos the win and then she didn't win it herself. So I feel really bad for her. And I found her somewhat charming. Something about her, I liked her. She wasn't the biggest character, but something about her just drew me to her. So she goes in the great tier. And next are our two winners, Leanne and Jake. I actually really did not like Leanne. I thought she was going to be a lot better than what she was, and she was not. She was wrong a lot, had these wild theories, and she was always looking the wrong direction. And I would probably honestly put in the dislike because of that. But then I looked back at her voting history and she did vote correctly for all the traitors except Mina. So I do give her credit that, and she was trying, she was willing to look at people in her inner circle. And I do appreciate that because some contestants, they won't look at their friends. They refuse to do it. So I appreciated that she was looking at them. She was willing to vote out who she thought was a traitor, no matter how close she was to them. So, well, now I'm kind of convincing myself she'll be higher in the okay tier. I should not put Yin so high in the okay tier. She should be at the bottom. Same with Jack. That's just a little too high for people who didn't last that long in the season. And finally, Jake. I will put Jake. I think I gotta put him, I'll put him at the bottom of the great tier. He frustrated me after the challenge when they were getting off the rafts, and those who got into the rafts weren't able to get a shield, and he came back so hot-headed. I'm like, dude, it's a game. Like, you're this stupid one for getting off and not giving yourself a shield. That's on you. And he was very blinded by Mina. But then he did vote correctly for all the other traitors. He did correctly read that Linda was a traitor from the start, so gotta give him props to that. And then he did vote for all the other traitors except for, again, Mina. He was very savvy at the game. He was very good. He was seen as the smartest faithful, yet got to the end and still won, so I had to give him credit for that. But I just kind of got frustrated that he and Leanne won, even though Frankie basically gave them the win because they were not looking at Charlotte. They weren't looking at her. I'm definitely not the biggest fan of Jake and Leanne being the winners because I do feel like other people did things that got them there versus themselves getting there. I would definitely say Jake more than Leanne. And also with the Charlotte versus Frankie of it all, I just knew in my head, it's like, there's no way that the other three aren't going to vote both of them out. Like, it's a 50-50. Why are you taking the risk? Just vote them both out. I think in some ways, the see a twist, it created a lot of drama, but it also kind of set in stone the finale. There was no room for it to change. There was no room for it to go anywhere because of everything that was going on with the CA twist. So that is a bit unfortunate. I don't know how else they could tweak the CA twist or besides just not having it. So it'll be interesting to see if they do tweak it at all. And that's my ranking list. I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fine. What are some other, I have my notes. What are some of the things I wanted to talk about? Oh, that's it. Oh yeah, the other thing I like about Charlotte is that when Frankie did have the senior meeting with her, and after Frankie found out she was a traitor, she like held the wine glass very like casually and evilly. God, she just really embraced that evil role, and I really enjoyed watching it. Another thing with Frankie is when she was right out at the Fire of Truth thing, and she just looked at Leanne and she just said, "I hope you get it," and just walked away and just looked at her. That was a very sad moment that I enjoyed, which sounds messed up to say I enjoyed the sad moment, but it made me, feel, so I guess that's good. I think the challenges were a lot better. I typically honestly just skip the challenges because they bore me, they don't really matter. But this season it did. There was a lot of like, oh, doing this will get your shield, doing this won't. There's a lot of, oh, the traitors said something, now I have to figure out what they did. Like with the chess piece, which the chess challenge was awesome. I loved that freaking traitor thing moved like it was on a Roomba. That was so cool. I thought that was excellent and very well done. And there was some drama there and be like, who's Two-Face, who's the real event? Loved that. Let's get more of those. And I also like that, which I think UK has always done, in that if they actually fail the challenge, they don't get the money. With some of the other Traitor seasons, it didn't really matter if they lost the challenges because they would just win it back at the end anyways. But I think across the board now, they decide, no, if you lose, you're not getting that money back, which I agree with. They shouldn't get that money back at the end if they lose the challenge. For me, the best part of the episodes are the roundtables and then the contestants revealing who they are. With this season, in terms of the roundtables, they weren't bad. There's none that stand out to me. Like there was a couple Traitor seasons, like in UK season 1, for example, that those roundtables just really stand out for me and I remember them. Here, I don't think there were any memorable, but none of them were bad. So I think overall they were good. It wasn't varied, it was just steadily good, which is nice. It's boring to watch boring roundtables, obviously. I would say overall, to all the other international seasons I've watched the Traitors, I would definitely say UK season 3 are in the top half. All the UK seasons are very well done. They have hit their strides. The production just knows what they're doing. They know who they're casting. They just really just hit all of the marks. So I give them kudos to that. So UK season 3, lowest of the UK seasons, but in the top half of all the other seasons I've watched, which I've watched so many. I've watched Canada, US, New Zealand, Australia. Am I missing? No, I guess that's it. Yeah, very good. And there you have it. Just a really easy video. I just need more time to edit the next video I'm doing, which is Arcane Season 2, which I said in my last video would be this week, but I needed more time. But that's why you should press the subscribe button and follow the bell notification so you know when it comes out, even though no one's waiting for it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.